This is crazy. This is crazy.
Everywhere you turn, it's the same old sports talk, the same headlines, the same news, and the same boring information. This podcast is here to change all of that. We bring you hot sports takes, winning sports betting strategy and picks, reliable gaming industry news, and breaking interviews with some of the biggest names in sports business. My name is Ryan Knup, and welcome to the Knup Sports Show.
Hello, and welcome to Knup Sports College Football Podcast. It's our goal today to help you make some money on sports. You can find us online at knupsports.com. That's KNUP Sports. Check out our daily movement, line movements, and other tidbits. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Knup Sports. I am Tom, along with Rodney. We're going to analyze this week in college football and bring you some information that you might like that'll help increase your bankroll. Rodney, hey, it's a good day to talk college football, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always a good day to talk college football. Looking forward to the Week 4 games, as should be some pretty good games this weekend. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, before we look ahead, let's look backwards just for a little bit and look at some of the good things that have happened, some of the bad things, and particularly some of the surprises. What do you see out there?
Well, I think a couple of the surprises would be, I don't think many people expected Louisville to look as good as they have. I mean, Lamar Jackson, the Heisman, he's bumped up to the top Heisman candidate in all the country, and Louisville's third as far as a national title contender. Really, they have Clemson separating them from really having a chance in that Final Four to get there. So I think Louisville's a big surprise. Positively, I mean, I think Miami's pretty good. I think they're a team that's been pretty surprising, off to a pretty good start. Houston, of course, their 3-0 start, a little bit surprising. On the other side, the negative surprises got to start with Ole Miss, 1-2 on the season. Now, of course, two pretty good losses there with Florida State and Alabama. And then the top negative surprise would be Oklahoma at 1-2, on the verge of falling out of the top 25. That's been a big surprise on the negative side.
Oh yeah, I think the Oklahoma fans are ready to make a change over there.
Well, Bob Stoops has been there a long time, and I don't think they're just going to be able to run him out like that. This isn't a high school program here, but Oklahoma, it could be time. They need maybe some new blood, and they just haven't been very good to start the year.
That's true. Well, let's look ahead now a little bit. Let's start with the 4 games that each team is ranked in the top 25. First, we have Georgia and Ole Miss, and the over/under there is like 62, and Ole Miss is a 7-point favorite. Where do you go with that one?
Well, it should be a pretty fun game. I mean, Georgia's 3-0, Kirby Smart, new head coach there. Ole Miss, I mean, this is one of those games where Ole Miss pretty much has to win. I mean, it's a situation where they can't fall to 1-3 this early in the season. I mean, this SEC's tough already. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be tough both ways. The game's in Oxford, so Ole Miss has a little bit of advantage there. Georgia ranked 12th in the country. You know, Nick Chubb's having a pretty good year. Now, they struggled a little bit at Missouri last week. Oh, man, this is going to be a tough game. I think I'm taking the 7 points. I'll go ahead and take Georgia plus 7 in this game. You know, they won 7 out of their last 10 against the spread on the road. So I think I'll take Georgia to compete and maybe even win this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Ole Miss wins, but Georgia covers probably in this game.
Yeah, it should be a pretty good game. SEC games are typically pretty good. We saw Alabama have a pretty good one there in Oxford. So I think this should be a fun game. And boy, if Georgia wins, they could probably vault into the top 10.
Well, moving to the Big Ten, Wisconsin, Michigan State. Michigan State 5-point favorite. Where you go there?
Well, I think Michigan State just blows out Wisconsin. I don't think Wisconsin's very good. I mean, they barely beat a Georgia State team last week. Now, I know they started off with a win over LSU, but not very surprising there. I mean, LSU's typically started slow. Big rival, or not a rivalry game, but a big home field advantage there in Lambeau Field for Wisconsin. I think I like Michigan State. I mean, we saw Michigan State look pretty good last week against Notre Dame. They've got pretty good defense. They can score. I like Michigan State, and I'm not sure this game will even be close.
Well, I think Tyler O'Connor shows a lot of poise for Michigan State.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, and I don't think Wisconsin has the tools to stop him. Wisconsin ranked 11th. I think they're one of the most overrated teams in the country. Wisconsin's in for a huge awakening. I think they got Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan in their next 3 games. I think it goes Michigan State, at Michigan, and then home with Ohio State. They're likely going to be 3-3 here in about 3 weeks.
And that would be a big ouch for them.
Yeah, they're just not very good. I truly believe they're just not very good. They've also got Nebraska coming up. I mean, this is a team that could win 6 or 7 games. I mean, the Big Ten West isn't very good, but their crossover games are just brutal, and I look for them to lose all 3 of these next 3 games.
Well, we have Florida and Tennessee, and before we get into that one, Tennessee's a 6.5-point favorite. I was all on the Florida wagon last week, and things weren't really very sharp from them. But Tennessee's in an 11-game losing streak facing Florida. Where are we going to go with that one?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, this game's in Knoxville, which obviously gives Tennessee a little bit of an advantage there, but and Florida's without their quarterback. I mean, Del Rio's out now, knee injury. That's a big blow for them. But I still think I take the Florida Gators. I mean, they can really defend. I think Tennessee's a team that can struggle to score at times, which means this could be a very low-scoring game. I think Florida comes away with a win here, and I'm not really so sure either team's that good. But I think I'm going to take Florida in this game, and as a little bit of an underdog, almost a touchdown underdog, especially if I could get it at 7 or anything above 7. I think that's a pretty good bet to have. 68% of the country's taken Florida. Florida 9-1 against the spread in their last 10 road games. You got to like those numbers. I think I take the Florida Gators to win this game in Knoxville.
I think their quarterback was like a grad student from Purdue, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, Jack Del Rio's son was the quarterback last week, and he got hurt. Now, they're looking for somebody else, and they've had quarterback issues for a long time. I mean, Florida hasn't had a good quarterback since the days of Tim Tebow. So I mean, Florida, I don't know if it's going to matter because I think they can defend Tennessee, and I don't think Tennessee can score enough to win this game. I think Florida wins this game.
The last of the double-ranked teams, we have Arkansas at Texas A&M. A&M is a 6-point favorite. The thing I like about this game is the over/under is 49.5, and I think they're going over.
Yeah, probably. I mean, these two teams I think can really score. I mean, Texas A&M has shown that they can score, and Arkansas certainly shows that they can score too. I mean, Texas A&M, although last week against Auburn, but Auburn's probably a little bit better defensive team, just 45 points. Their opener against UCLA, they went up to 55 points. Arkansas, I don't know if we can take what they did against TCU as in the indication, because TCU is an offensive team. That was 79 total points in that game. And then last week, Arkansas scored 42. I think the home team is what's going to favor me in this one, and I think that belongs to Texas A&M. I think they spread the ball out, they run the ball, they pass the ball, and I think Texas A&M wins this game.
Well, looking at a few other games that have some significance and ways that we can help people win some money, I think I've been miffed at this Florida State Southern Florida game. It's only a 5-point game. They got 5.5. They got Florida State 5.5. I think that's low.
Yeah, it seems low. Although South Florida's better. I wondered that line last week when South Florida was just like a 10-point favorite over Syracuse and just rolled through Syracuse. So, South Florida's better, and I think, maybe they're looking at a little bit of a hangover Florida State effect from last week. This is one of the highest betted games in all of the country. Florida State's 78% bet on by the public, and I think South Florida's better, but I think Jimbo Fisher and his crew, Dalvin Cook at running back, I think Florida State wins this game by double digits. And I like this game as well, but it's scary when 78% of the country likes it because Vegas knows stuff we don't.
Yes, they do, and they usually come out ahead.
Yeah, they do, and but I mean, smart for me is going with Florida State. Now the total 61 seems like a lot, but I could see a 42-24 type game. Florida State comes away with the win, so be careful with that 61.
Yes. Well, back to the Big Ten and a team that you seem to enjoy, Penn State at Michigan. Michigan's minus 19. Have all these numbers been something that's going to be detrimental to Michigan eventually? Are they going to come up against a team that's going to be better than the numbers?
Well, I mean, Michigan's probably not going to play a team that's better than they are until they see Ohio State. I mean, I think Michigan is they're fourth in the country right now and probably a top 5 team. I mean, if you look at Michigan's schedule, I mean, they start their first 5 games at home. And Penn State and Wisconsin, these next 2 games. Then they're at Rutgers and home against Illinois. I mean, they're looking at 7-0 and Michigan, going to Michigan State on October 29th, and then they play Ohio State on November 26th. I think that game against Ohio State will determine who's going to have a chance to go to that national title game. Michigan's going to roll Penn State. Penn State's not very good. I mean, they lost last week to Temple. I don't think Penn State scores enough. I guess I'm 2-1 on Michigan this year because I love them to blow out Hawaii, check. I love them to blow out Central Florida, check. And then last week they struggled a little bit with Colorado, but just keep in mind they were one score away from covering that spread. I think Michigan rolls in this game. 20 plus would be my bet for Michigan. They're good. They're really good.
Yes, they are. They're a good team. Moving on, LSU and Auburn. The line has LSU about 3.5 points. I don't know. I kind of think Auburn might cover this.
Well, the funny thing is that Auburn might win this game, and I don't think it'll truly happen. But Les Miles could then possibly be fired. I mean, he's one loss away from getting fired at any time there at LSU after last year's whole debacle. I mean, it's a situation where LSU has to come away with the win here. 62% of the country likes LSU. I mean, they've got the better player. They've got Leonard Fournette. I mean, Auburn doesn't do a great job of defending against the run. There's a few numbers on LSU that I like a little bit, but a few numbers that I don't. I mean, LSU just 2-5 in their last 7 against the spread on the road. That's not very good. On the other side, Auburn has some numbers I don't like either. This one's tough. I don't know if I have a great feel for this game. I think I would probably lean towards the better team, and that's LSU, and just hope that maybe they find a way to win by a touchdown instead of a field goal. But I'll probably stay away from this game. My lean would be LSU.
Yeah, it's just what I was getting ready to say. It might be one you just want to turn and walk away from.
Yeah, just stay away from this game. I mean, I do think it'll be a pretty good game. The total's around 44. I mean, so they're projecting something like a 24-20 type game out of LSU, and to me that just spells ugly.
Yeah, Auburn lost to A&M and to Clemson, so they're not a slouch team.
No, I mean, and Auburn loves to run the football, and if LSU can stop the run, LSU could be in pretty good shape. But this game has ugly written all over to me.
Well, going to some games that just have interest to me, and Iowa State is winless, and yet they're a 6.5 point favorite over San Jose State. Can they cover that?
I didn't know if Iowa State could cover any spread. I don't know a whole lot about the Spartans of San Jose State. I mean, I know that to me, Iowa State's one of the bottom 5 teams in all the country. Now they're a bottom 5 power program. San Jose State's not a power program. I'm trying to find a little bit of information on San Jose State. They're not very good. That's one thing I do know. And obviously at a 6-point favorite, they can't be very good. I mean, San Jose State does have a win this year, albeit not very good win. Gosh, again, I think this would be a game you just say, you know what, whatever happens in this game happens in this game. I wouldn't recommend betting this game because I think both teams are awful.
Well, the game that I talked about a game earlier, but this one really got my interest because the public just jumped on with UNLV, 14.5 point favorite over Idaho. Like 80% of the people, 79-80% going with UNLV.
Well, Idaho, same situation as San Jose State, is not very good. This is in Vegas. Idaho's coming off 2 just absolute blowout losses. If you look at Idaho, they got beat at Washington 59-14. They got beat at Washington State 56-6. Now UNLV's not the same level that Washington and Washington State are. UNLV's also 1-2, with a 21-point loss at UCLA and a 23-point loss at Central Michigan. But 14 points, yeah, I think UNLV could probably take care of that. We've seen Idaho not compete. They give up a lot of points. I could see a 38-20 type game. I think UNLV would be certainly a good lean here. 14, 15 points, especially if you can get at 14. I think 15 could be dangerous, but 14 for UNLV sounds good.
Kind of makes you wonder if the people in Vegas know something we don't with UNLV playing.
Yeah. I mean, they do. They always know something we don't. But 79% of the country. But then again, that's the scary part is that. Again, Vegas knows something, so the 21% may be happy late. That's a late game. That's a late game on Saturday night, so we'll see what happens. But I think I would lean towards UNLV.
I'm going to call a blowout here. Army at Buffalo. I think Army just destroys them.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Army, yeah. Buffalo, we're running through some games that aren't very good here. Buffalo's around a 2-touchdown underdog in this game. not a great feel for this game. You're probably right. I mean, it's at Buffalo. That's always a little bit concerning. Yeah, I mean, 2 touchdowns probably about right.
I think there's a chance to make some money on a few of these games, so that's kind of why I have my own interest in those. South Carolina at Kentucky, Kentucky 2.5.
Yeah, Kentucky's not very good either. It's kind of the theme here, but I think South Carolina wins this game on the road. I think they're better. I think Kentucky doesn't defend very well. I like South Carolina to win this game on the road.
Okay. 2 teams that have not lost: Wake Forest and Indiana. Indiana 7.5.
Indiana is a 7.5 point favorite against Wake Forest. That's interesting because I don't think Indiana's played anybody yet. That's very good. Indiana's probably the bet here, but at 7.5, it's difficult because again, a 7 points game means you lose. They beat Florida International. They beat Ball State. I can't say either one of those teams are really worth it. Wake Forest is a 3-0 team. Wake Forest has wins over Tulane, Duke, and Delaware. Looking at it, I think Wake Forest probably covers this game. I'd take Wake Forest plus 7.5.
Okay, I have something I want to run by you. I believe that the Air Force Falcons, 36 seniors on their squad, will go undefeated this year. Care to comment?
The Air Force Falcons will go undefeated this year. Well, are you talking a bowl game too?
No, I'm talking regular season.
Okay, well, yeah, I could probably see that. I mean, they're one of those. I mean, their conference, I think they could probably take care of it. I have to take a look at. Okay, Air Force, Boise State.
Boise, yep.
Boise State could be an interesting one for them, but they're going to beat Utah State. They're going to beat Navy. They're going to beat Wyoming. They're going to beat New Mexico. They're going to crush Hawaii. They'll crush Fresno. They'll crush Army. They'll beat Colorado State. They'll beat San Jose State. Yeah, they're probably going to be 10 or 11-0 when they go to when Boise State comes to town. So I can't say that's too crazy. Boise State's pretty good though.
Okay, I have how good is Houston?
Houston's not that good. I mean, the one thing for Houston that really hurt them is Oklahoma just getting crushed by Ohio State. I mean, because the one thing Houston was going to, put their bankroll on was that they beat Oklahoma. Well, now Oklahoma is on the verge of falling out of the top 25 because Ohio State just absolutely buried them. So, Houston's not going to have a lot of chances to solidify themselves. It's going to be hard to argue if they're 11-0 at the end of the season. But if you look at Houston's schedule, Texas State not good, UConn not good, Navy not very good, Tulsa okay, Southern Methodist not very good, Central Florida not very good, Tulane not very good, and then they'll play Louisville. And obviously that game is going to make a big difference because if Houston does not lose between now and then, they'll still be a top 5, top 8 team. And if they can beat Louisville, then they'll have a chance. But I think Houston's probably a top 10 team, but I don't look at them as a top 5.
What about Western Michigan?
Western Michigan's pretty good. They came into Champaign and just rolled through the Fighting Illini last week, and they're well coached. I think he'll find a job somewhere here soon. He'll be the next Tom Herman type guy that finds a big program and probably does well. I mean, Western Michigan's a team that takes care of the football. They have the ball at all times. I mean, their time of possession has been tremendous. And out of the MAC, there's some good teams in the MAC. MAC's a very underrated college football conference. They're pretty good, but there are some other teams in the MAC that could trip them up, and it'll be interesting to see. They're going to start seeing some Tuesday, Wednesday night games between the MAC, and those are always going to be fun. I mean, I'm just trying to look at Western Michigan, 126 points to 52. PJ Flex teams just rolled teams. You look at Central Michigan, they're decent this year. Northern Illinois is not very good. So, yeah, I mean, I think Western Michigan has a chance to win 10, 11 games this year.
Last question. Out of the top 5 teams in the country, do you name them, and who's not going to get into the national championship?
Top 5 teams in the AP poll right now would be Alabama, Ohio State, Louisville, Michigan, and Clemson.
Who does not get in? Yeah, who doesn't get in?
Well, they may all lose a game. They may all lose a game because if you look at all their schedules, they all have a team that could beat them. You look at Louisville, they got to go to Clemson, they got to go to Houston. I could see them not losing a game. So if If I had to put my money on it, it would probably be Louisville, because I think the big names of Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and Clemson. Now, I don't know if 2 Big Ten teams can get in there, so it's hard to say that one of those Big Ten teams, Ohio State, Michigan, won't get in. But I'd say Louisville would probably be my choice there. And then I think a team like Stanford's going to find their way up. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, one of the best running backs in the country. If they can get past Washington on September 30th, they got a pretty smooth sailing. And, they go to Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's just okay. So I could see Stanford finding a way in there.
Well, that's great information. Hey, that's going to pretty much wrap up my questions for you. Before we get off here, I want to remind everybody just to go to the Facebook page. Tomorrow there's going to be, it's later today, we're going to have some over and under picks, about 8 or 9 of them. If you're interested in over and under, we're going to have that. Last words, Rodney?
Yeah, just enjoy the college football weekend. Should be fun. I mean, it's always fun to see these games. I think this week is a pretty good week of games. I mean, we saw a real nice week 1, a pretty bad week 2, a decent week 3. They're going to get better with the conference teams going, some of the ranked teams going against each other. I can't say that there's going to be just a crushing upset for any of the top teams this week. Some of the top teams don't even play. So, I mean, it'll be a fun weekend, and hopefully we can give you some picks. And we'll have our final picks when we post them Saturday morning on our Facebook and Twitter page. But go to Knup Sports, knupsports.com, and we'll give you all of our information.
Yeah, that's right. So that's it for this edition of Knup Sports College Football Podcast. So look us up online, on Twitter, on Facebook. We here wish you the very best of luck this week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Knup Sports Show. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing to our iTunes channel today. Plus, visit us at knupsports.com for more picks, previews, strategy, and news. That's knupsports.com.